Welcome, Joe Zich, to What Drives You. How are you?
Good, CB. Good to be on the show.
Thank you. Thank you. In honor of you, if you could see this, I wore my Travis Matthews hat,
Yes.
and we'll get into why that's important. And then I also wore one of my YouTube channel, which has nothing to do with you other than it kind of matched the hat. So shout out to the YouTube channel that I think it was one of those channels that did like a housing flip or restoration channel deals, but then they had cool merch. And then if you ordered this shirt, you got a chance to win like a $500,000 house, which of course I did not win. So, but you get a nice little
You
T-shirt.
got my luck. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you so much for joining. I know we've been trying to do this for a minute, and you are a good sport to jump on and just kind of share your life, your journey, what drives you. So thank you. For those of you who are first time guests of the show. Basically, what we do is we look to encourage, educate, and entertain just through stories of people, no, average, everyday friends, family, industry folks. Joe is both a friend, he's a mentor on the golf course to me, even though he kicks my butt every time, and former fellow coworker and just an all around good dude. So thanks, Joe.
Appreciate that, CB.
No worries. So we got a lot to talk about because you've had a pretty interesting and amazing journey. So Joe and I worked together for over a year at a dealership, as me being an employee, but for many, many years, me as a vendor to their dealership. So Joe, tell us how you got into, because you've been in that for many years. How'd you get into the car business?
Well, as luck would have it, I actually bought a car from Woodfield Chevy in 2000.
Rest in
And
peace.
yeah, Dan Troy was the sales manager there that I worked with, and me and him hit it off. And he said, "Hey, when you turn 21, if you want to come sell cars, come see me." And I kind of didn't believe that he would, obviously live up to the promise. And a week after I turned 21, I went in there and he remembered me and introduced me to all the managers and said, "This is going to be our new salesperson." And off and running. That's how it began. So all began with a car purchase.
That's cool. And so one cool thing we were just joking beforehand on air, a car guy lived up to his word, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's
So
rare,
that's
right?
good intro to the car business, right?
Yeah.
And you were blessed to work for again another good friend of ours, Todd Martin, back over there. And then so after you worked at that store for a while, you took another little. I think you thought you were going to be there for a while, and then you got kind of recruited by same guy Todd. So tell us about that journey over there in Skokie.
Yeah, so I was at the Chevy store for about a year, and then Todd was used car manager there, and he decided that he was going to dip his feet in the old ownership pool, and he bought the Nissan store in Skokie. And little I know, a month later, I was over there working for him, and I'd be there 22 years, which is blows my mind. Half my life, I worked for him. Just an amazing guy. Feel like I kind of married my high school sweetheart. Got to work for probably the best guy in the car business for my entire career. And yeah, I started off as a salesperson there, and obviously, 22 years later, retired from the car business now, but got to work my way up the ladder. So yeah, it was a good run.
It was a very good run, and for you, not only to see, first time owner, right? New brand to you, a very up and down brand. If you all don't know about Nissan World in the manufacturer space, they've had some highs and lows, and right now I think they're kind of in the middle, maybe a little towards the bottom a little bit, but overall, good company and a great, reliable car for many many years. But yeah, Joe was super blessed because he got a new owner, newer store. Took a while for them to do that, but then you got a facelift, and worked his way up from the bottom. Met some dear friends there, but working for a caliber of the owner of Todd Martin. Just tell us about that from what you've seen being outside of that store and selling to car dealers. How does he compare, or that type of person? Maybe there's a lot of Todds out there we haven't met him yet, but I'm pretty sure I've been in thousands of stores and he's one of a kind, but
No, he's definitely a unicorn. There's no doubt about it. If you were to meet him, the one thing I always loved about Todd, and I told him this many times, is, everybody, I don't care who it was, Todd treated the same. And you would never know that Todd was who he was if you met and talked to him. He treated everybody with respect. He had nothing but, I mean, he's just a good person. And it was a blessing. I mean, it really was, and I tried to do a lot to kind of make myself as much of a Todd Martin as I could be throughout, the time I worked for him, because he really was probably the best role model a guy could have. Um, but I mean, yeah, just a family guy, cared about the employees, cared about the customers. I mean, in general, he's just he's not a car guy. If you to put him in that kind of spectrum, right? You think about a car guy, he's not that. And yeah, I mean, me and him grew close over the years, obviously working for him for a long time, and grew a good close friendship with him. And yeah, I mean, I can't say enough about the guy. I respect him. Love the guy. I mean, he gave me a lot of opportunities. He changed my life for sure. Starting off as a salesperson to what I ended up, getting the opportunity and blessed to have there. It just doesn't get any better, and you want to talk about life changing. I mean, you go in there as a 22-year-old car salesman, and 20 years later, he's basically giving me the keys to the store, saying, "Hey, I believe in you, and this is what we're gonna do," and gave me the opportunity. And it's just, yeah, he changed my life for sure in a much better way. My dad always said that he was going to be pulling through the drive-through at a Wendy's and ordering fries from me, right? So to have the opportunity that he gave me, and to feel like doing a decent job at it. But more than anything, I mean, if you've worked for him and you know him, and you won't meet another guy like him.
yeah,
He's just super.
pretty rare. What do you and I know the answer to this, but why'd you leave if he's so great? Why'd you go?
Oh, he sold the store. He sold my home. So yeah, I didn't have anywhere to go. I was homeless. So yeah, out in the streets, and panhandling after that. Um, but yeah, I mean, he had an opportunity on the store for a long time, and got a good offer and made sense, and he sold it. So April of 23.
Well, what's pretty cool about that story, again, knowing a little bit behind the scenes, is you got to be, which again, just this is not the Todd Martin, positive roast here, although we'll get into other things. But the fact that a guy kept you in the loop, in where you were an integral part of the sale, right? Of knowledge, and he kind of took care of you after the fact a little bit. I mean, that's just very, very rare for an owner to do that. And I think I don't know. I'd like to hear from him. I mean, I know his family's key to him. His health is key to him. His reputation's key to him. But what drives him to find certain people like you and Dan and others he's given opportunities to just trust you guys so much? You deliver, so I mean that's kind of the outcome of him giving you that,
Yeah.
keys, as you said. But I like to dig a little bit into deeper into what really makes him such a trusting guy in an industry that's not always that way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
Well, he has unique ability that he trusts people up front, which is rare, right? Because just there's so much different things that happen in the world, that, I mean, for you to meet somebody and go, "Oh, I trust this guy." Um, Obviously, most of us aren't like that, but he just
yeah.
has that. He's got a good heart.
So you had but by the way, working with you, I've got kind of a short list of bosses that are just amazing. And three of the top five of them well, in Ken Potter, Todd Martin, and John Kitson. But you, while you were there, had some pretty amazing experiences, met some amazing people, um, had some ups and downs with some things. But one of the things that I think shocked me, because I again sat next to you in some instances 40 hours a week, right?
Yeah.
On weeks if Malcolm was gone, or somebody was out of the office, and I just was at the tower with you. So, to watch you kind of manage the store and manage the customers, was really really fun. So as an employee, as a coworker, which is kind of what I wasn't an owner, so it was to me more of a coworker situation. Um, you're just one of the best. So, but you had an experience there that I think not only matured you, but changed you. Not at the store per se, but tell us about that life changing. I always tease you about them being a miracle man, but you had a crazy, amazing story that I think literally changed your heart, your mind, your soul forever. And that's kind of one of the main reasons I want to get you on the channel, because the theme of tonight is what drives you as a survivor, and that story in your life, from that point and beyond, has been as a survivor. So tell us about that morning.
Didn't take you long to get into that. All right.
it's it's
uh,
amazing. So
yeah, no, I mean, I still obviously have a hard time believing the whole thing, but so it was November 17th of 2022, 6 o'clock in the morning. Let the dogs in the backyard. They go out and kind of do their thing, and two of the three come running in the house, and the other one goes running down my driveway, which he never does. So I kind of scooted around to see what he was doing, and there was somebody running from my Jeep that was parked in the driveway down my driveway. So I took a few steps towards him and said, "Hey, what are you doing?" And next thing you know is he turns around and starts shooting at me. And it's weird, I guess, when your senses are heightened. I thought the first two, I saw the muzzle flashes, but I thought it was a cap gun because it was so quiet. Didn't even think it was a real gun. Um, the third shot that I heard it hit my garage door, which was behind me. And I went, "Oh, this is real bullets." Still really quiet. So I turned around, dove into the driveway next to my car, just got low and kind of played possum. Heard one more shot. Then I heard it paused for a minute. And then I heard 4 or 5 more shots, what I thought. And then I heard the car take off. Um, I jumped up, come running in my house. My wife at the time meets me at the back door saying, "What's going on?" I'm like, "I'm being shot at. Get down." I called the cops. Cops obviously had a few other phone calls. At that point, my neighbor next door saw it. I thought it was just one guy who was shooting at me. My neighbor, who's a Glenview fireman, um, he, after the first shot, he looked out the window and actually saw 2 people from inside the car shooting at me. And so there's 3 people shooting at me, as luck would have it, God watching over me, never got hit. It was a couple inches away from me when the detectives came by and they were asking me kind of where the whole thing happened. And I showed them where I was laying. They showed me in my driveway where the bullet had actually hit the concrete, which is just an inch or two from my face, um, which is mind blowing because I didn't hear any of that. It's just, I guess your senses are so heightened that it just doesn't even click. Um, they shot through my garage door twice. They shot through the pillars of my house. They shot out a window of the house. Um, and yeah, by the grace of God, they didn't hit me. But when I came in, side of my face was pretty tore up from the cement where I, dove in the driveway, broke my hand. My hand was bleeding. My shoulder was bleeding. And it took about an hour or two for me to kind of calm down. And I realized that I was wearing a shirt that I had gotten baptized in just about 5 months before that.
hmm,
And the shirt had no blood on it, had no tears, nothing. And the gash that was in my shoulder was pretty good size. And still to this day, I have that shirt. It's like brand new. So, yeah, God definitely jumped over me and covered me for the whole thing. It turned out there was the Ring camera across the street caught it. They shot at me 11 times. So 11 times, didn't get hit. Everything pretty much around me did. But that was a moment where you just sit there and go, that was surreal. Like, I can't even believe this would happen, especially in my neighborhood, in my house. And that's when you kind of realize that, you wake up in the morning, you let your dogs out, and literally within 30 seconds, you could have been dead. Right.
yeah,
So it allows you to kind of put things in perspective and realize that, every day is a gift, that, if you're kind of questioning if God is real, he is, he definitely covered me. up in that situation. And yeah, for whatever reason, it wasn't my time. So very thankful for that.
Now, every time I hear that story, it's like a little different ring to it. No pun intended with the ring. But let me just say for the record, I know this is hard to see on Joe's not a little guy, so he's as a target, he's sizable, tall, just a built guy, and so we could say they were terrible shots. We could say, I mean, but they were close. I've been to his house. I've seen his driveway. There's something miraculous that happened. So I always say in situations like this, not that I've run across so many, but God's not finished with you yet, Joe. In
Yep.
my opinion, He also absolutely protected you and your bride. But I mean, just the change, because I think I called you um, after that, not knowing about the situation at all. And then you're like, yeah, well, I almost died. And I was like, and Joe's very sarcastic. So that may or
Gotcha.
not come across. Yeah. And has a very dry sense of humor, but hilarious guy. And so I was like, yeah, yeah, whatever. You should almost die. He goes, no, no, no. You didn't hear it? And I'm like, no. So then he told me a shortened version of what he just shared tonight. And I was like, you are a freaking miracle man. So yeah. So since then, now we're coming up on 5 years, right? Almost.
No, it was November 17th to 22. So about
Oh,
two and a half
22.
years ago.
So
Yeah.
3 years. So what has that experience done? Because I've seen again shared, but what has that done to your heart, your soul, your mind? You share it without, I'm sure it's you don't think about it every second, but
Yeah.
when you share it with such absolute positive, no doubt that, you know, God was looking out for you.
Yeah.
How many people has that story helped, affected, challenged? I mean, what's the reaction, I guess, when people hear it?
That's a great question. I don't know if it's I'm sure it's affected people. Nothing that's like people have voiced to me where, obviously they say, oh wow, that's amazing. I can't believe that happened and the whole thing. Definitely within my church. I mean, my pastor actually the month after that did a Christmas edition and actually talked about my story there, which was kind of neat. Um, but I mean, I think just overall, I kind of came to God the end of 21, and I always thought there was a God, and believed I'm a good person. You go to heaven. So to kind of jump into this whole church thing, and then a year later, this whole thing happens. It's pretty wild. It really was pretty wild. But it's really made me realize that since then, obviously, since then the store's been sold. Obviously, I worked with you at a company. That whole department got let go, started a different job. And I think what it's more than anything has done is given me faith in through hard times, because I was dealing with it. Actually, it's about a few months prior to that, I was having some severe anxiety just in life. I was actually at the dealership. I was having panic attacks out of the blue on a Saturday at 11 o'clock in the morning. I would just have to get in my car and drive for, 20 minutes just to kind of calm down, which I never experienced before. So I was having some severe anxiety. But I think more than anything, it's allowed me to, kind of just say, hey, you know what? Whatever happens, God's got it. And not kind of take some of the stress off me, the stuff that I
Yeah.
would put on myself. Being a type A personality, I'm very much a control, gotta, the situation, I gotta make sure I always have control of it. And that obviously, is good to a point, but more than anything, you just it's it's put things in perspective for me, that spend more time with my son. you know Certain people that were in my life no longer are, which has turned out to be a blessing in disguise. And the main thing is just having that relationship with God.
Yeah.
Since then I've joined a church group that I go to. Obviously do the Sunday services and stuff like that, and it's definitely given me more perspective on life than I had before. Um, because, well, as we know, we take every moment for granted. You Until something like that happens and it's you involved in it. You wake up every day, you put your clothes on, you shower, you do whatever, and you go about your day. Like it's, it's a given. It's not, every day that we have is a blessing. And that,
Yeah,
you know,
it's a gift for sure. It's interesting that you, and I remember you telling me this, but hearing it again in a different setting, um, a little bit more serious, but you were having those anxiety attacks, which is interesting because you new bride, great job, making great money, keys to the kingdom. It's interesting that all that good was in your life, like heights that you had never had before, and you're having this anxiety. What do you think that was about?
well, I mean, here at that point, everything that I kind of wanted in my life since I was younger, I had the good job, was making good money, live in a decent neighborhood, had a new wife, my son was healthy, life was good. But I think honestly, the majority of the anxiety that I was dealing with was the fact that the woman that I married at that time, I think it was God telling me that it just wasn't the right person for me, and I just didn't listen to that. And I think I had this feeling in my gut that just kind of told me, hey, you know what? This isn't right. But at that point, I just went through with it. And, at 41 years old, you think I'd be smarter than that. But, but, luckily, since then, obviously God's removed that person out of my life, and it's been a blessing, you know, don't have the anxiety as much anymore. I haven't had a panic attack for sure. But yeah, it's really has been a blessing. There was actually a lot of good things that came out of it. Learning things, for myself, my son changed. There's a lot of good things that came out of that relationship, and obviously brought to church by that person for
Yeah,
the first time. So yeah, so a lot to be thankful for.
for sure. Yeah, it's every time I think about because I'm picturing you in your pink robe with your slippers on, dodging the bullets, and and I'm sorry, and I've talked about it, so people don't think I'm being, unsensitive.
There was
Um,
no pink robe.
pajamas anyway, but I, at 6 in the morning, just being caught unaware, just again, just shocking, and yeah, and even I was telling a lady, and I told you this, was telling a lady I was at a big charity thing, this story about you. Oh, because we had the wristbands. That's how she's like, "Where'd you get these? And why'd you do this?" And we'll talk about that in a second. But I was telling her the story, and she's like, "Wait a minute, I I live in Mount Prospect. I heard that at the news that we were blown away." Because for those of you who don't know, Mount Prospect is a little pretty much straight west of Chicago, maybe a little northwest, but very small, very safe little town. Train runs through it, but it's just a normal, not a lot of crime at all. Um, so a shocking thing. So that's why it was kind of big news, especially locally, that this thing occurred. They ended up catching, right, all those kids.
No, 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 no. They caught one of the four.
Oh, one of the four. Okay.
Yeah.
But again, just sad story. Won't go into there. But
Yeah.
yeah, she was blown away. So that led to kind of Joe having this little prompting, which I don't have one with me. It's in the other room. But tell us this story. You were at somewhere and came up with this idea about faithfulness.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, there he is.
Yeah. No,
That was unscripted, by the way, everybody. That was not a plug, and he's not selling these, so there's no money there. So anyway,
yeah.
fire away.
That was like October last year. I was out and just kind of walking the neighborhood and thinking, and it kind of was put on my heart to get some bracelets, made and try to help out my church with them or somebody else with them. Um, and for whatever reason, the phrase "faithful," not faithful like relationship, but faithful, came into my head. So I had, geez, I don't remember, 500 of them or something made. Um, and my goal was to donate them to my church to sell them, raise money for some needy families. Unfortunately, that whole thing didn't work out because church has certain rules as far as who they can deal with. And so yeah, I gave you I don't remember how many, 200 or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't remember, to take over to your church. But yeah, since the day that they've been delivered to me, I haven't taken it off. You know, I've got it on, and just to me, it's just one of those things you just look at every day and just look at it as a reminder. You know, we are blessed. We are lucky. We need to wake up every day in some type of gratitude for what we have, and um, that's kind of the reminder I need as the day goes on.
Yeah.
You know, because again, take a lot for granted. You know, we do take a lot for granted. So yeah, so I ended up doing that, and I still got a couple hundred of them if anybody wants any.
Uh, if you want, reach out to me. I'll get it. We'll get somehow figure it out how to get them to you. But yeah, Joe gave them to me. We went out. We had a catch up meeting. I think it was like November, and I was going to that charity event, and so you were kind enough to give me a bunch, and I actually passed them out. I think there was about 150 people there. I think you gave me 200. There was 150 people there, so everyone got one in the room. And then that organization is also connected to a school. So my friend Sajid, who's been on the show on the channel, he brought those over to the school because I think they have about 100 students. It's a small little K through six school or K through eight. So yeah, they did not get wasted. They went to good use. And again, those little triggers, those little reminders are just so important. And and kind of what was the birth of this channel a little bit, which Joe, you know a little bit about the behind the scenes during COVID. So I'll go back to COVID a little bit. I was just searching for anything positive on the internet, right? Just anything good. And there were little nuggets, little pieces here and there, but there's really no channel on there that is just all positive all the time. And we're not going to be perfect on this channel. We're, as far as, encouraging, entertaining, or educating. But I wanted something to be, I want this show and your story to affect someone. Our kind of slogan is, stories that inspire us to do better. So, just that little your effort and brainchild to go out and make a little reminder for yourself that helps trigger you every morning is may affect someone, may encourage somebody. But what do you think is your biggest driver of just every day as a single dad getting up and going, all right, I'm going to get out and get it instead of just calling it in and laying on the couch and looking for handouts? What do you think that is?
That sounds great, actually. I wish I
Get
you
in
know
line. Get in
the
line.
yeah, I think the biggest driver for me, and we've talked about it, is just the way I grew up. You know, grew up, didn't have any money, I had my first job at the age of 13. And some, in little couple years prior to that, the way that when I was prior to my dad getting custody of me, living with my mom, and I always just said, I'm never going to let my kid live that way. And that's my main driver is my son. You know, that's that's what gets me motivated every day to kind of do what I got to do, and kind of get at it. It wasn't the car business too, which wasn't easy because the car business hours is, there'd be days where I'd bring him in with me in the morning, and on a Saturday, and he would sit in the car dealership with us for 10 hours. you
Yeah.
know and but it just is what it is. I just don't want to let him down. you know he's 15 now, so since he was 5, I've been separated from his mom, and that's my main motivation. It's going to be interesting when he turns 18 in 3 years, and obviously it'll still be my responsibility, but not the same way. It'll be interesting to see what happens. So how that whole thing kind of changes and shifts.
Yeah, and it was funny. I don't think I've ever told you this, but to watch Joe on those Saturdays when Kevin was there at the store with us, his dad would bring him in and say, "All right, kind of changing of the guard," and and Joe would have to shift from literally an instance, dad, sales guy, manager, car guy, focus, and then it was usually just an hour or so before you were able to go. If you weren't in the middle of a deal, you would leave, right? But if you were, Kev, I got to finish up, and he just sit over here in a little waiting area. But just to see you be able to shift that way, and then just the relief when you got to walk out the door was just powerful stuff to see. It's hard to be. I mean, I've never been. My wife has been for a year when I was away at work. But yeah, you're doing a good job. Good job.
Huh, thanks, Carl. I appreciate it.
And Joe used to tease me, by the way, because we have some other little commonalities. I grew up in the same town as Joe. So Joe kind of teases that everybody except for him in Glenview was a rich little silver spoon kid, which I was not. Maybe more than him in a couple dollars and cents, but I had the same job when I was 13. We both caddied. He was much better at it and did much longer. But yeah, I started working from 13 on, and I'm 58 and I'm still rolling. So, but just that, and when he told me that he grew up in Glenview, I was like, wait a minute, but he's a bunch younger than me. But we knew some similar people, and just had that commonality of growing up in a town that had, and I don't know, Joe, when they closed the base on you, but Glenview was an interesting town because we had a naval base, so we had a lot of military, which for a semi-affluent town outside of Chicago was very bizarre.
Semi-affluent.
Well, now you could
Yeah.
say pretty affluent.
Good.
Um, but and then we had some big apartment areas. We actually had some mobile homes
Yep.
areas, and then again a lot of wealthy people. But my parents got in there. My dad was a roofer. My mom was a teacher, so there was no big money. But they got in early enough in '68 where it wasn't like bonk. Like now, I don't think you can get in there for under $500,000 or for a lot, maybe. I don't know. It's crazy. But and then our friend who was the owner of the dealership, he grew up in my town where I live now, Barrington, which ironically, that's where Joe's son is now going to school and thriving on the golf team. And is there a bowling team, or she just do that for fun? Can't
He
remember.
decided not to do it this year.
No.
Yeah, didn't want to do it. He wanted to snowboard.
Well,
So yeah, so we're doing that.
hey, you got to test when you're that age. You got to test it all out, right? So
Yeah,
just a lot of
absolutely.
cool commonalities. And then Joe and I had the pleasure and blessing of working together once he left the car business, in my current job, and just got to see him kind of learning the ropes, getting out, because it's what, again, just to everybody out there, if you're in the same job for 20 plus years in the same location, drive the same, it it is gets redundant. And now Joe's out on the street having to schedule his day, has all this freedom, company car, driving all over like 3 states, right? Four, but you had
Four. Yeah,
four
four.
states. And just seeing him figure all that out and just kind of experience new things, and was just really, really fun to watch. So glad I got to be part of that, and travel with you on a couple occasions and golf with you, most importantly.
Well, yeah, and if it wasn't for you, I would have never have even thought or heard about the job or got the job. I remember I was in Florida in May, and you texted me that company's looking for somebody, and I ended up kind of down that path with you, and so I appreciate it. You obviously put your name out there for me for 16 months that I was there, so I really appreciate that. I mean, if it wasn't for you, I probably would have maybe ended up back in the car business again. I mean, I had a great year and a half, still am, with my son,
Yeah,
which is the thing I wanted was time.
yeah. Time is definitely priceless, and that's, again, we had, our friend Lindsay was on with me last episode, last show, and we just talked about how amazing and fun the car business is when it's rocking, and when it's not rocking, how not fun it can be when it's slow. Or, and again, Joe lived through it. Those highs and lows with Nissan, the highs and lows with COVID, the highs and lows with cash for clunkers. Some of those things were just, I mean, you you would have I would have slept at the dealership because it was so fun and you're making so much money. And then there's other days when you're not, you sell nothing and you're like, why am I here?
It's the closest thing to legalized gambling, for a job other than probably the stock market.
Yeah,
You go in every day and you can make a bunch of money, you can make no money, actually lose money for the
yeah,
day.
yeah,
But I mean, again, there's something to it. Once it's in you, like I can't tell you that I don't miss it. I miss a lot of aspects of the car business. The immediate gratification of talking to a customer. The salesperson says, "Oh, I don't. They're just here. They're looking." You go in, you talk to them, and all of a sudden, you're doing paperwork, and the salesperson's got a commission, and you're selling a car, and just like that was cool. you definitely feel, or you buy a car, you take a trade in, or what. I mean, there's just so many aspects to it. An employee struggling with something, and you sit them down and talk to them, and all of a sudden they have some type of like coming to God, and all of a sudden they're obviously a changed person, and you see that those changes, and you spend so much time with them. They're family. I
Yeah.
mean, I miss the Martin Nissan family. There is no doubt about it. Luckily, I keep in touch with everybody, but yeah, if there's one downfall to the car business, it's just the hours. You
Yeah.
know, that's the only thing. But there's so many good things to it, and it can be a ton of, like you said, it can be a ton of fun when things are kind of going right.
Well, we've talked in other episodes, Joe, too, about you are a perfect example to speak to this. It is a place where you can go in with zero experience, zero college, zero training, and learn inventory, marketing, management, sales, logistics, accounting. I mean, you name it, systems, right? Project managing. It's very unique and interesting place where you can learn a lot of stuff about a lot of things. And if you're at the right brand, right time, right hustle, make a ton of money too with no college. I mean, you didn't you go straight from high school? Did you go to
Yeah,
college?
I mean, I'm a moron, and I figured it out. I mean, yeah, I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean,
You're
there. I
not a
mean,
moron,
yeah.
but
But closest thing too.
yeah,
But I mean, yeah, I mean, you can go in there, literally have no experience, and all of a sudden you're sitting in a finance office, you're running a desk, or you're the number top two salesperson, and all of a sudden you got a six-figure income, and you're buying your first place, and you're. I mean, it's amazing to see the transformations of the people that have come through that thought they had a good job prior, and then they come in and you just see their life, just the levels. And that is by far the coolest part of the car business. Is it's literally like everybody has a shot.
yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, that's what we talked about in these other episodes. Was you could have been in jail, you could have been in the military, you could be black, yellow, red, white, woman, trans. What it doesn't matter, right? If you have a hustle and you have a personality, right? Because really, it's people. No matter what technology is out there, people still buy cars from people.
Yeah,
If you're a jerk, you're probably not going to sell a lot of cars. That's just how it is, right? If
yeah.
you're a listener and you're friendly and you could smile, welcome to the dealership. You're probably going to do well. So
Yeah, I really think that other than being a jerk, I mean, I've seen some socially awkward people be very successful inside the walls of a store. And you're just like, I mean, you can't even sit down at lunch and have a conversation with these people. But once they get in front of a customer, they turn it on and, they're great. Or, I just think what bothers me the most is the stereotype of the car salesman, because I really think the industry has changed so much in probably the last 10 to 15 years that it's a different dynamic now. And you don't have a lot of those people that gave us the whole stereotypical used car salesman, where you just people walk in and they go, I still see them occasionally, but for the most part, it's just honest people that want to, treat a customer right, make a living doing it, and, want to feel successful.
well, especially if you work for a guy like Todd, not to go back to
The
him
good
again
old,
and give him more. He's going to get a big head if he does watch this show. Um, but he won't allow it, right? If you're shady or snaky or whatever, I mean, he'll sniff that out real quick, and he'll have us, uh, have those people move on, in a nice way.
for
So,
sure.
so what are you doing now?
So now I'm working for a company called Carpool. It's a logistics company, transport company for dealers, customers, whoever needs to ship cars, auctions, or whatever that might be. So after the prior company basically dissolved the department, one of my former coworkers reached out to me about this. So, and I kind of have a broader territory, and it's nice, again, flexibility with time. But yeah, I mean, that's a whole different dynamic. I mean, you want to talk about competitive, that is a very competitive market, the logistics side of it. But it's been, and again, I'm with a great company. It's a smaller They're in business 3 years, so it's a little bit more of a people on people type of business, as opposed to you're just a number, which is great.
Yeah.
So
Are you learning a lot?
I don't know. I mean, I think I know a lot. That's
Wait,
sarcasm. Yeah, yeah. I'm always learning. Yeah, of course. There's a lot of things that go into it that I honestly had no clue about before. We all just figure that we go to buy a car. Well, how's the car get on the lot? Trucks drop them off. There's a lot more to it than that. Or if you buy
yeah.
a used car, the dealer buys from the auction, or you buy a car and you need to get it shipped from the dealer to wherever you are. There's a lot involved with that, which is it. I've learned a lot of the behind the scenes stuff about that, which is interesting because some stuff I didn't know. I thought I had an idea, but I didn't. Again, I'm
Yeah.
a moron.
And I know a tiny little bit about, not to be naive or um, dramatic. I know a little bit about that company, but what I do know about logistics and shipping is that not only is super competitive, but the little efficiencies that can be gained with technology. Obviously, gas price has a huge factor in this because if gas goes from $2 a gallon to $4 a gallon, guess what? You're instantly overnight affected in your transportation rates.
Yeah.
But I think for you to be a little startup with some money behind them with some cool tech is going to be a great experience. Whether it pans out in the long road, who knows? But to learn that stuff and be involved at such an early stage is probably really fun. I've gone through a couple of those, and they're fun. They're challenging. You learn a lot, but yeah, hopefully that one is glad. And I'm glad you got the flexibility still, because with your son being at this key age, because at a, a certain point in time as a teenager, we know they're all going to come in and say, yeah, Dad, I'm
Yep.
too cool for you, right? So, but you're pretty cool. So maybe you won't that won't happen to you.
Thanks, Carl. Appreciate it. Well, luckily he's got the golf thing, so me and him have that together, and the fishing thing together. But
Yeah.
once that dies, yeah, I'm in big trouble. I'll never see him.
No, I mean, that has been a cool thing, just to give you a little hope and encouragement with the kids. There's this dark period of teenager parents are uncool to now, like, oh, wait a minute, they are kind of cool because I see other parents and other people, and now they're kind of like friends. I mean, they're always your kids, right? And we love them that way, but you can actually go do, like, my daughter's a big movie buff. One of them is a big movie theater buff, like me. And so her and she'll be like, hey, Dad, I'm going to see this, this, and this, or this today. Which one do you want to see? All right, let's go. We know my wife won't want to see him because it's either too violent or whatever. So just stuff like that where, yeah, I know I'm not the first choice usually. I get it, but to still be included in even the conversation is kind of cool. And she's 24, so
Yeah, I mean that's a blessing. The fact that your kids like you and still want to hang around you.
yeah,
Yeah, you're way ahead of the game there, CB.
yeah. There's not many that do, but no, I'm kidding. It's been fun to watch him, and Jane, is helping out with the channel a little bit, and interviewing some people has been really fun too, because she's so much be like Kevin, doing this with Kevin, right? They have such a different perspective on what's hip, what's cool, what's funny, what's
Right.
not, and sometimes they can't miss it. But to watch her interact with either people she doesn't really know or she knew a long time ago as an adult has been fun to watch.
How many
So
of these episodes have you done so far?
I think you might be number 30.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So the model so far has been, and I'm sure you've watched every episode, Joe. So I'm sure you know.
Yeah, that's why I kind of just lost count, so I didn't know what it was.
No. So I've done about 15 just me talking to the world, which who know, but and you would appreciate some of them only because I talk about the car business and how to get the most for your trade, how to get the best deals, some of that stuff. You might also, make fun of me because I'm wrong on some of them, but those were just more information, like how to, what you and I know for our whole lives, right? Adult lives is car business and kind of behind the scenes. And then
Yeah.
the other ones have been either two-person conversations or three-person interviews that have just been super fun with, friends that we know, people like you that I've known for a long time who just have an amazing life journey and story. So yeah, so I think you're number 30, because I was telling Lindsay asked me that same question the other day. And it's funny because I was talking to my friend Ken the other day, and he's like, I said, hey, a couple big names in the car business that he knows better than me. I said, hey, could you get this person to be on the channel? And I said, you could join in the interview too if you want. He's like, well, he'll maybe do episode 40 or 50, but he's not going to do episode 4 or 5. And I was like, oh, okay, right, big shot. So that's why I had to go back and count, which is why I kind of know that I'm closer to 30 than 3. So
you're like Carl Rogan. You're the
no, they say my goal this year is to try and do as many of these. I was trying to do it every day, and I did like the first 12 days of the year, which is what got me ramped up really quick. But one, it's tough to coordinate. I mean, look how long we've been trying to get online.
Yeah.
Somebody's sick, I gotta, all the logistics, no pun intended. YouTube logistics versus car logistics. But then the other thing, and you know me, I could talk like you could talk all day long if you want about stuff and different things, but it has been just that coordination of getting the person online. And then because I'm doing this very simply with, again, just for those of you who are watching, you can do YouTube with just a computer, camera, and mic. That's all we're doing. There's no fancy the only cheat now I got is this little light up here, because depending when I shoot these, I want to be at least not look like I was in the witness protection program. So that's my cheat so far. I did just buy a cool little camera that I'll share and show, because I want to be able to, if I can't rely on the YouTube Live, Joe, or Zoom, I got to be able to have some type of, and it's like a little unboxing, and I know a little unprepared, but I bought one of these little like, I don't know if you could see that.
Yeah.
Oh, look, it turned on. Oh.
Oh, so when you move it balances out, huh?
Yeah, kind of just so really good. Again, I haven't figured it all the way out yet, and so I'm gonna turn it off so I don't break it. There we go. But yeah, we're gonna get. I mean, as we grow, again, I think they say if you get to 77 episodes, most likely you will have 1,000 subscribers. I mean, unless you're just a complete goofball, you'll have 1,000 subscribers and probably get monetized. That's not necessarily the goal here, because if you got some good stories, viral stories, or good interviews or whatever, or a person who people want to hear their story journey, that could happen overnight, right? Because I think the way you get monetized is 1,000 subscribers or 4,000 watch hours. So
Okay.
we're up to a whopping 14. I checked before we got on, 14 subscribers. So if you haven't subscribed, Joe,
I'm a subscriber.
oh god, of course you are.
So there's 13 others than me.
Yes, and I think I'm one. So then now we're 12 others.
So
So
you got at least all the interviewees to subscribe,
well,
hopefully.
yeah, and well, here the other. I hope let's. I'm gonna have to call them all. What the one thing that's been funny to see is I have done zero marketing. So basically, what I do is I record this, upload it, pick a thumbnail, and then I post it on YouTube. Only one of the episodes that I also post on Facebook and LinkedIn, because it was my friend Ron, who's an author, and he's got some cool books that he's written. He's from New York. He's just a super interesting dude. Ron Baller is his name. If you haven't checked that one out, please check that one out.
Checking that
He's
out.
super, super smart guy that grew up in Glenview with us. And he, so that's the only one I've really boosted. So I'm kind of trying to experiment with that. Like Lindsay and I said, hey, if you do share this episode, so I tell the same to you. If you share it with somebody, friends and family, that's okay. But tell them, please watch it till the end. Even if it's terrible and you don't like it, let it run in the background so it doesn't mess up the algorithm. Because really, that's a lot of people, friends and family, they'll share it and then they'll watch like 5 minutes. They'll be like, oh, Joe, you were the greatest, blah, blah, blah. But then they stop. And YouTube watches are like, wait, why they didn't watch the whole thing? So it messes it up. So just warn people, and but at some point I'm going to take these big, massive, 1 hour, 2 hour episodes and shave them down into shorts. so that I can post them on other social media. So I know you're pretty savvy with some of that stuff.
Got to get into that TikTok, Carl.
TikTok. TikTok. TikTok is funny to me because I was on it so early and it was not controversial. And I just did it because, as you know, working at the dealership, not that I was in charge of marketing, that was Julia, but because I come from marketing, I had a big hand in it. So I always want to know. I mean, I was on Snapchat early, I was on TikTok early, I was on all these platforms early. But to manage all of them and to pay attention to all of them, it's very, very hard. So doing this now as a little kind of the side hustle experiment and figuring out where to post it to actually get people to come watch it, I don't know. I haven't figured it out yet. So if you got any pointers or know anybody, so let me know.
The only pointers I have is put it out wherever you can, and hopefully you get some exposure somewhere. I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
all you can do.
It's really about just having an authentic conversation, having, like I said, decent sound, decent lights. Because people, you never know. Like we say in the car business, Joe, there's a hinder for every seat.
Yep.
There is someone that goes, "Ooh, I like that Joe story. He's inspired me," or I like, learning about whatever industry we're going to talk about. The stuff that Ron was talking about, this like astronomy and astrology and space travel. Holy crap! I mean, you talk about being a moron. I just sat there like, couldn't believe it. But had my
And
friend
you get some
Stan.
good conspiracy theories. That's what you need. You want to,
Yeah, there was. Well, we did talk about extraterrestrial.
Oh,
So that was, which I thought for sure. This is a funny one. So the friend that I had on was Stan, who you've met or seen, Stan the truck man, Stan Windhorn. He is a firm believer in UFOs. He's seen them twice, felt them. I don't discredit. I mean, he is so authentic about it, and so I'm like, all right, fine. I just haven't seen one yet. But Ron's point was he just from a mathematics perspective, he goes, do you know how far, how long it would take someone to get here from somewhere else? He goes, look at how far we've only gotten to the moon, maybe Mars with some of these rovers and stuff, and how many years that has taken. So his opinion is, unless there's a dimensional thing where you're traveling through dimensions and time and space, it's probably not possible that there's life, at least intelligent life on other planets, because they'd have seen us or we'd have seen them, right? Which is kind of my attitude about it a little bit. I'm a little bit more from a faith-based perspective where I'm like, there's not really a lot of discussion about this in the good book, or at least where I kind of draw my knowledge from. So, but I'm not here, man. The world is so big and I've been blown away. I mean, just miracles that I've experienced in my life and amazing situations like your story. I don't doubt anything. So.
yeah. About ghosts.
Uh, Ghosts, I mean, I definitely believe in um, demons and the devil and spirits. So I guess it's a definition of what's a
Yeah.
ghost, right?
I'd say spirits. Yeah.
So yeah, that'd be a whole. I'd love to talk to somebody who I do get intrigued by. You may laugh at this, uh, the Sasquatch hunts, the Bigfoot hunts, and then those shows that take all the infrared in there and they go to those haunted houses and stuff.
Yeah.
Those intrigue the crap out of me, but none of them ever are like, I'm Joe the ghost or I'm Casper and interview me. You know what I mean? They're
Yep.
teasers, but they're
They
fun to
get
watch.
apparitions that come on there. What the Sasquatch thing cracks me up because how can you be an expert on something that you've never met? Like
Yeah.
that's one thing always just struck me. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. I guess I'm an expert on, I don't know, space travel. I've never done it, but I'm an expert on it. Yeah, okay, cool. Time traveler, right?
Well, yeah, they're experts in the theories of
Right.
whatever it is, right? It's like, wait, it's just a theory. There's no proof. So how are you? I don't. All right. Well, we're gonna do our rapid fire questions. I did warn Joe about this. So again, to listeners or watchers or viewers, we have, because this is a car channel, what drives you. It started out as we are going to talk all about cars, and now it's kind of morphed into, again, inspiring stories to help us to do better and to do good. But I still want to keep some car stuff in there. So here's the rapid fire, Joe. You ready? Got my little
Yep, let's
notes
go.
over here. All right. What was your first car?
First car, 1990 Dodge Spirit.
Ooh.
Gray
Now,
interior.
those came in 4-cylinder and 6-cylinder?
Yes, I had a 4-cylinder that had a bed head gasket. Yeah, it
Yeah,
was
they all did.
amazing.
What was your first car? What is your current car?
Current car, Lexus SUV.
Lexus SUV. Oh, times two.
Yeah, ×2. Yeah.
Times two. What is, of all the cars that you have owned, and for car people, I got to clarify this because maybe we haven't owned a lot because we're in the car business. So what's been the favorite car you've driven or demoed or owned?
Favorite car I've owned was my Vet, for sure. That was awesome. Actually, my favorite car or SUV is I love the SRT Jeeps, but can't drive them around here. So you know that's not happening. I got a chance to demo one for a couple weeks a few years back, and that was a lot of fun.
That's
So
a lot of power.
as I get older, I want to sit up a little higher. I like the SUV capability, but it's nice having 500 horsepower.
Yeah.
That's fun.
All right. So, and then the last one is, what is your dream car?
Wow.
And just so you're aware, while you're thinking on that, most of the people have been pretty practical in their like dream car. Because I think, again, as we age, people are like, yeah, Ferrari sounded good when I was young, but now I want something, like you said, practical, comfortable. So fire away.
You know what? I hate to disappoint everybody, all 12 people watching this, but I don't even know. I mean, I guess, you know, I mean, I've been around cars my whole life. Nothing really like seriously impresses me anymore. You know, I know Lindsay was like, oh, Lamborghini, you know, SUV. When I watched that, I'm like, yeah, I'm out on that. Like, none of that stuff just gets me excited anymore. God, I don't know. You know what it'd be? A 73 Trans Am. Screaming Chicken. There's an orangey red that they had. That's what I would want.
All right. All right.
Yeah. 455 H. Yeah. High output.
That's a good pick. It's
Yep.
unique. You
Yep.
could find one clean. That'd be good. All right. So what are we have another portion. So that was our rapid fire round about cars, but give us your words of wisdom to a young Joe, a young Kevin, or just to the world, to all my 12 ball busting subscribers that you're talking about. Which there's 14, just so for the record, and we don't know how many viewers there are because there's been a lot of views, so they could be all over the place. But what are your words of, on a serious note, what are your words of wisdom you wish someone would have told you about? Or
you know what? It's probably a saying, and it was if you meet somebody and they decide to give you their opinion, and if you wouldn't take their opinion, if you've never met them, what does their opinion really matter? You know, growing up throughout my life, I've always, you know, kind of been able to feel energy and, you know, feel kind of how people are. And I realized that what other people think don't matter. It does not matter. You know, be you, follow whatever path that you feel is the right path for you, and don't listen to the outside noise. You know, again, what is the person that you met one time? They have an opinion on something and you're never going to see them again. What does it matter?
exactly.
You know,
no, that's a great one. And that goes back to, again, to the birth of the channel. It was, I wanted this to be, goes right along with what you're saying. And a lot of the, you know, folks on the channel, like, here, if you wait till everyone approves of your lighting, your sound, your topics, your themes, your format, you'll never do it. So I recorded in 2021, because they're all saved in the library in the YouTube studio, 10 or 12 episodes that I never published. And Joe, I never published them because, not because I was embarrassed or ashamed of them, but I thought they had to be so polished with an intro and an extra out roll and a thumbnail with graphics. And and I just never published them. For 3 years they sat there. I mean, they're still there, so their time's ticking, right? And I'm like, there was a little bit of it that was like, oh, I wonder what people are going to think if I just put it out there this raw, because it was kind of dark and it was COVID-y, because I was just losing my marbles as most of us were, and I didn't do it. And then, as a lot of the guests have said, is get started. Don't be afraid to. Who cares what other people think? There's something to the tune of 1 million new YouTubers every year, and not. I think it's about 90, like almost any business, 90% of them never finish, never complete. They give up, they fail, they stop, they lose interest. So again, my kids tease me all the time, like, oh, it's not polished enough. And I'm like, you know what, guys, if I waited till that polished, first of all, I'd go broke because you couldn't afford all the editing and tools and all the other stuff. But you got to get it out there. Just
Mhm.
keep trying. Each one of these, and thank you again for joining, has gotten a little better, a little more fun, a little more comfortable. And a lot of it has to do with you because I know you well. But yeah, you're not going to get, just like golf, right? Or any skill or sport or hobby or profession,
Yep.
unless you repeat it and try and fail and learn and fail and learn, it's always going to be you know not your best, or not the best.
Well,
So
my pastor threw out a stat a couple years ago, and he said the average human, 80% of their thoughts are negative, 20% of are positive. So if you think about that, 8 out of every 10 of your thoughts are negative. If you're
yep.
going to listen to the majority of that, where's the 20% going to come in and possibly give you the opportunity to do what you want and feel good about yourself and pursue something? And no risk, no reward. So good for you for getting this up and running. And yeah, I hope you have a lot of luck with it, CB.
Yeah. No, thank you. To me, it's a creative. I mean, again, to have fun conversations and to relive old memories with people is just awesome. It's going to be interesting as I run through through all those connections and kind of start reaching out to people I don't know well, or people that you would bring or want to co-interview. And again, I'll extend the thing to you. If you have any people that you think are of interest or interesting that you would want to get on the program with or without you, ping me, because I think that would be fun, especially to I'm never I try my hardest not to call this my channel. This is not my channel. This is our channel, because I can't do this without the collaborators of the guests and the co-hosts. And I hope this is just a place where people can go, hey, Carl, I got this person I want to interview, and I don't like the way you talk or look or whatever, but can I use the channel? And be like, heck yeah, because it's a place, again, to encourage, to educate, to entertain. And once you've got some followers and some traction in that, to let a guest, like even that person, Joe, who might not want to go full blown YouTuber or YouTube channel, they can hop on and interview somebody. I even thought about, it's funny because I talked to her yesterday. I even thought about interviewing my mom, that probably no one in the world will want to see other than me and my girls, right, for posterity, but just open it up to anybody who wants to be able to do that. Because with the power of Zoom and the power of YouTube Live, it's pretty easy to do if a person can, turn on their computer and talk.
Well, and here, and this might come out cross wrong, but if you can get an old person on who's got those perspectives and that life experience, I mean, if you can get anybody from like a 13-year-old to a 90-year-old person and in between on, you're going to cover a lot of ground and a lot of experiences. I mean, those people have
Oh yeah,
so much knowledge, and just they've been through so much. I mean, think about what year was your mom born?
1933.
Okay, so I mean, just think about cars, technology, cell phones, just everything that has changed since I mean, she's seen so much. Just that
She's
perspective
seen it
has got to
all.
be amazing. Yeah.
I think Joe, the only thing they had, I think they had a phone in their house, but she's seen TV, computer, cell phone, fax, beeper. I mean, just everything where like kids, roll out today and they're coding when they're 1 years old, right?
Yep.
So they've seen some incredible things. I mean, I don't even know if you remember this. So one of my favorite things growing up in Glenview was we had one of those insulated galvanized boxes on our front porch. The milkman would come to our front porch in Glenview and put the milk and the eggs and whatever we ordered in that box. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's before my time, CB.
So, yeah, I mean, it wasn't, but it ended quick. So it's a vague memory, probably from the 70s. I don't think by the 80s it was happening, but in the 70s, because I remember those extra special times when we got chocolate milk instead of white milk. Ah, it was just incredible. And it was the glass bottles and you had to return them. And, so yeah, just that. And I'm only 58. So, I mean, think about this and that you and I have seen, right?
Right.
I mean, this is like a mega computer right here that, yeah, it's unbelievable.
It
So
is. It is. Very cool.
anyway, my brother, thank you so much for joining. Thank you. I know we went a little bit over time, but it's so good to catch up and see you doing well. And again, relive the Miracle Man and story that you are. And yeah, just thank you.
Well, I hope you catch on. All these people listen to, your episodes prior and after, and you kind of get this up and running and start knocking it out of the park, because I know with your network of people, you will, obviously, a ton of people and you're good at this stuff. This is kind of what you do. You're networking and talking. So,
Yeah.
keep it up, man.
Thank you.
Keep it
I
up.
will try.
All
All right,
right.
brother. We'll see you on the golf course.
Yes, sir.
Have a good night.
Talk to you, CB.
Bye.
Later.